What if I told you the entire foundation of the American dream wasn't a belief, but a piece of paper? A truly radical idea from a 23-year-old that would end up shaping a nation's wealth for centuries. This is that story. So here's the bottom line. Long before he was a founding father, Benjamin Franklin was a monetary revolutionary. He figured out that real, lasting wealth wasn't in shiny metals that could just be shipped overseas. No, it was in the land, right under their feet. And that single idea was about to light a fire under the whole colonial economy. Welcome to the MoniLytics channel, where money meets research. Today we are unpacking one of the most important, but honestly most overlooked economic theories in American history. It all starts with Benjamin Franklin's argument for paper currency back in 1729, which became a reality about a decade later. And as you will see, this was never just about money. It was about creating opportunity itself. Okay, so to really get Franklin's genius, we have to rewind the clock. Picture Pennsylvania in the 1720s. When a teenage Franklin first shows up in Philadelphia, the whole province was just stuck. The economy was completely stagnant. Now, you look at a picture like this and you'd think Philadelphia was a thriving port, right? But that was just the surface. Underneath, the economy was grinding to a halt. Franklin himself wrote about seeing empty houses and just no activity. And the reason was shockingly simple. There was no cash. Literally. And this wasn't some abstract problem for economists to debate. This quote from the governor of Pennsylvania, wow, it shows you the real human cost. I mean, can you imagine being a farmer with a cart full of food you can't sell because nobody has any coins? Shipbuilders, carpenters, skilled workers were starving. The entire local economy was broken. So, where did all the money go? Well, this slide lays it out perfectly. The colonies were importing all their manufactured goods from Great Britain, and Britain only wanted one thing in payment: specie, that's gold and silver coins. So every time a ship from London docked, it was like a giant vacuum cleaner sucking all the hard currency right out of Pennsylvania. It left everyone having to barter for everything, which, as you can guess, is incredibly inefficient. But right in the middle of this crisis, a young printer didn't just see a problem. He saw an opportunity, a solution. And this is where Benjamin Franklin, the monetary theorist, steps onto the stage. He was only 23 years old when he published this pamphlet. Think about that. And he did it anonymously at first, because while his idea was pretty out there, in it, he basically said, you're all thinking about money completely wrong. The solution wasn't to find more gold, it was to create a brand new kind of money from scratch. And the concept he was pushing was an early version of what we now call fiat money. It's currency that has value, not because it's made of something precious, but simply because a trusted authority, like the government, says it has value. That's it. It's based on trust. Now, here's the truly brilliant part. Franklin proposed creating paper money, but he knew it needed to be backed by something to inspire trust. So instead of gold, he proposed backing it with the most stable, immovable, and valuable thing the colonists owned: their land. He even called it coined land. And as this table shows, the beauty of it was, you can't ship a farm to England. This new money was designed to stay put and to get local commerce moving again. And the most elegant part of his whole theory was this. He argued the system would be self-regulating. The government would issue this paper money as loans, with land as the collateral. If the economy was booming and needed more cash, people would take out more loans, putting more money into the system. If things slowed down, people would pay back their loans, taking money out of circulation. It was like a thermostat for the money supply. And here it is, the result, a 20-shilling note from 1739. Franklin's idea actually worked. His arguments won, and his own printing press got the contract to print the money. He even came up with this genius anti-counterfeiting trick using the one-of-a-kind vein pattern of a real leaf. This wasn't a theory anymore. This was real cash creating real prosperity. But this is where the story gets so much bigger. This wasn't just a clever fix for a currency crisis. What Franklin had stumbled upon was the economic blueprint for what we would all come to know as the American dream. The logic here is just so clear and powerful. For the very first time, regular people who owned land but had no cash could get their hands on capital. This meant they could hire people, they could invest in their farms, they could start businesses. This activity fueled a huge wave of economic growth, creating this virtuous cycle where hard work could actually lead to real wealth. This was the blueprint. But Franklin knew that the system itself was only half of the equation. It was the hardware. The other half was the software, the personal values of the people. Through things like the way to wealth, he constantly promoted virtues like hard work, saving, and being proactive. All these famous sayings were the cultural code that ran on the new economic system he designed. And that combination, it was absolutely explosive. Okay, so that was Franklin's world, nearly 300 years ago. The big question for us, though, is how do these old ideas hold up today? What happens when we look at them through a modern filter? So let's ask it directly. How much of Benjamin Franklin's financial DNA is still floating around in our economy today? Is any of it still relevant? This table really gives us a fantastic breakdown. The core principles, they've absolutely endured. The idea of money being a tool for commerce, the basic concept of fiat currency based on trust, and trying to manage the money supply to keep the economy stable, all of that is central to modern economics. But the actual mechanisms he used, they're totally obsolete. We don't have government-run land banks, and we definitely don't back our currency with physical mortgages anymore. So why the change? Well, Franklin's system was brilliant for a colony that had zero control over its own foreign trade. But after the Revolution, the U.S. Constitution gave the new federal government sovereign power over all that. And this paved the way for the much more complex bank-based system we have now, the fractional reserve system, where private banks, regulated by a central bank, actually create most of the money in the economy as credit. And this really brings us to the final critical thought. For Franklin, money was a simple tool. It was a public utility designed to empower everyday farmers and craftsmen and to build a prosperous society from the bottom up. He saw it as a means to an end, widespread opportunity for everyone. In our world today, with its unbelievably complex global finance, it's worth asking the question that his legacy demands we ask. Who is that tool truly serving now? If you found this research valuable, please like the video, subscribe to MoniLytics, and check out the affiliate links in the description to support the channel. That wraps up our deep dive into Benjamin Franklin's monetary vision. And stay tuned for our next explainer, where we'll be shifting our focus to Adam Smith and the Wealth of Nations. We're going to explore how his ideas in 1776 completely changed the definition of what it even means for a nation to be rich. Thanks for watching.